Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for February 26th through March 4th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 1 show, I watched 3 movies, and I listened to 1 book. If you see my recent videos, you are well aware that this is not my house. This is not even the country in which I reside. I am currently in the UK. I'm in a place called Waytown. It's absolutely lovely. I'm staying with my friends Peter and Joey, and we just got here last night, but I'm having a wonderful time so far, and I'm very excited to take you around this very small town and do all of the travel vlogs, but that's not what we're here for today. I've known Joey for more than a couple of decades. She is Canadian, but she's moved over to the UK because she is married, obviously, Peter, who is a British man, and they are just lovely people. They are both freelance artists with their toes in a lot of different ponds, and I'm going to put some links down below to some of their projects because there are a lot of things that if you're interested in those types of things, you should be following them there. Enough of a preamble though, let's get into what I read because I'm actually trying to film this before they wake up. It feels really good to get this filmed before the whole household is up because there are dogs here and they are so cute, but I can only imagine they are a terror if you're trying to do this. The first book that I finished this week is The Last Party. This is a book that actually takes place in the UK. It takes place in a very small town in Wales. And much like everything else by this author, it is somewhat of a mystery. Essentially, everyone in this small town wakes up on New Year's Day and there is a body in the lake and they have to figure out who done it. I was going to say this was dual perspective, but you actually get a bunch of different perspectives every once in a while, and some of them overlap, so you'll see something from one person's perspective and then later you'll see something from a different person's perspective, and it kind of fills in some of the plot points, and I really enjoyed that. There was one teeny tiny thing about this that really annoyed me, but I already talked about that in my monthly wrap-up, so if you want to know what that is, go to that video. The other book that I finished this week is a short graphic novel called A Blanket of Butterflies. I was really interested in this one because it takes place in Fort Smith, which is in the Northwest Territories, which is somewhere I actually visited last year, so I felt a personal connection to it. This one had to do with somebody from Japan who was coming over to reclaim this set of samurai armor that previously belonged to his family, but when he gets there, the sword is missing and he has to go on a journey to reclaim that. This was really short and bittersweet, but I really enjoyed it, and there was a lot of information before and after the graphic novel that gave a lot of context to this situation. This suit of samurai armor actually exists in Fort Smith, and it's kind of a mystery as to how it exactly got there, although there's some pretty good theories. As for the shows we watched this week, we finished the 2nd season of Only Murders in the Building, and I am so delighted to find out that they are actually making a 3rd season because I thought that this had ended off a couple of years ago and we weren't getting another one, but apparently we are, which is very exciting after you watch how this 2nd season ends. I really liked watching this latter half of the series. As always, it's full of misdirects and it's full of really funny situations. I also really love who showed up to play Brazos's body double. If you've seen it, you know, and it's hilarious. If you haven't seen it yet, just another reason to go watch it. That is the sound of a bird that is nesting in this fireplace, which is why they don't turn it on right now. Fortunately, one of their neighbors is a chimney sweep. I met her last night and she's delightful, so that will eventually get sorted out. The first movie I watched this week was a documentary called The Girl in the Picture. I believe this was on Netflix, and this was a true crime case I had heard of before because, as you might know if you've been here for a while, I've been watching way too much true crime content on YouTube. It's basically what I watch these days. But this one had to do with a really strange case, and of course we start off with how this person died and tried to figure out who she was from that, and it's just a heartbreaking situation, absolutely ridiculous twists and turns to figure out where she came from and what probably happened to her. And it's just really heartbreaking, so if you're not into that, then this isn't the thing for you, but if you're into interesting true crime things, this one was definitely worth watching. On the plane from Calgary to London yesterday, I watched 2 movies. One of them was Elvis. I've been wanting to watch this one since I realized Baz Luhrmann was making another film because I've loved every other film I've seen by him. I actually have a Moulin Rouge tattoo, and I did really enjoy what I was able to take away from this. However, I'm going to have to watch it again because watching it on an airplane where there's just that constant rush of air because you're, you know, 39,000 feet in the air, and the air is just going by the airplane. You're sitting by the window and all you can hear is that dull roar, and then you plug in your headphones and either it's too quiet or it's too loud, depending on if it's a singing part or not, and you have to constantly readjust. So I'm going to have to watch it again. However, I did very much enjoy what I was able to see, and I kind of want to check into how much of it was historically accurate, that type of thing. Obviously the big things are probably going to be historically accurate, but even though Elvis is one of the largest recording artists of all time, I didn't really know that much about him besides the things that people tend to always know, like getting the pink Cadillac for his mom, Graceland, a few other things. And those are just the types of things I know about him without having looked into him before. So if you have any resources as to like what little things were Easter eggs or what little things they kind of stretch the truth on, please let me know down below. The other movie I watched was called Alice Darling. It starred Anna Kendrick, and this one was very slow paced. It says it was a psychological thriller, but I wouldn't personally have called it that. It does have a lot to do with the psychology of the main character and the situation she's in. She is in a toxic relationship. She does have to realize that and move on from it with the power of her friends, and it is a good story, but it is just not what I thought I was going to get when I saw a psychological thriller. It's definitely not terrible. I did enjoy it. It does have a lot of trigger warnings to go with it because there is a lot of abuse. Nothing physical, but there's physical abuse she inflicts on herself, which can be really hard to watch. And then there's a plethora of other situations, so just go into it knowing that. The book I listened to this week is Extasia by Clare Legrand. This one takes place in a future time where something has happened. Women have basically messed up the entire world, and now we're living in a world that has kind of gone back to its roots, and the men are at the top of the hierarchy and they're just trying to make sure that society continues, and our main character is a girl who is about to become a saint, which is a really integral part to this community. However, it's definitely not a position I would personally want, but she's been raised through this society so she doesn't see the problems with it until somebody else points them out, and she goes on this journey to kind of figure out that her society is kind of bonkers. Not to mention she finds out there's magic in the world and there's a coven of witches in the forest, and that's a whole thing. This was actually really fascinating and I enjoyed the different places it went to. When I started reading it, I was obviously annoyed because I cannot fathom this society. However, if you think about a society going through these different generations and that's just the world they know and that's what they know of the world, it makes sense. But it was also just so infuriating because obviously, you know, women aren't the reason that society broke down, and all of these things that are really scary about the way certain people talk about the world right now, and this was terrifying and pretty necessary. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!